For this time, the Quick Speed Shop, I'm working on my 37 Buick. I've got all the engines, both engines in and out of it. We're about in the middle of doing an engine swap, but I got a problem with the interior. I can't stand it. Let's go over to the car and I'll tell you what I think about it and what would you guys do about it. Now, the last video I went and got the 400 small block yanked out of there, ejected, and I've got the brand new Blueprint 350 ready to go. Now, I've ordered a bunch of parts and they're coming from Summit Racing. I actually got one of them little engine cart stand things so I can put either one of the engines on it, so when I build it out, I'll probably set the 400 aside or put that on the engine stand. But I'll put the 350 on the crate, on the dolly thingamajig, and then we can put the flywheel on, put all the front dress on it and stuff like that. So then it can come out of the crate. That should be here tomorrow. This guy will wait and go on the crate once the 350 is in the car, I guess, and then we can work on cleaning this up. It's going to get painted Chevy orange and things like that. Here's all my parts. I got a bunch of pieces coming. I think we're going to wrench a little bit more on taking that apart. We'll take the flywheel off and do some other things, or the flex plate, I mean, on the 400. But over here, you see I got the torque converter, bam, out of there, and I believe it is a stock stall converter. Where's my tape measure? I don't have any way to prove it by RPM range, but it is 12-inch converter, so it's probably a stock stall. I don't know what these numbers mean. It says 0400 something. I don't know what the numbers mean, but the 400 has a cam in it and stuff, and this car, the problem was it would lug down when you would come to a stop. It would like really lug the converter, and I ended up shifting the car into neutral all the time, and it was pretty tight. It would take right off and go. So I'm not a transmission / torque converter expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I did some looking on Summit and Jegs and Speedway and stuff where they had different tutorials, and basically you need a stall converter to stall, or I'm not going to say lock up, but like stop slipping below your normal cruise rate. So I've changed a whole bunch of parameters around on this car. Right now it's got 373 gears in it, so going down the highway at like 65, it's turning about 3,000 RPM. So you could have got away with a pretty high stall converter and still been under 3,000 RPM. You could put like a 2,800 in it, 2,600 or something. The Blueprint 350 says they recommend a 2,200 to 2,400 stall converter for this engine. It's 400 horsepower, roller camshaft, roller lifters and stuff. That's what they suggest in the booklet, which would be fine if I kept the 373 gears, because it would rev higher than that when it was on the mainly on the highway or cruising speed. The problem is I'm going to switch. I'm putting a Ford 9-inch in here right now. If you've been following along, it's got a Nova 10 bolt out of it, like a 74 Nova 10 bolt posi with 373s, and it beat that 400 to death just like driving it at higher RPM all the time. So I've ordered a quick performance 9-inch for like a Nova replacement that's going to go in the back of this car with a 3.00 gear ratio. So that's going to knock my highway cruising RPMs way down, probably at, I did the math earlier, I forget the number, but probably at like, say 60, you're going to be turning 2,300 RPM-ish, 60, 65, something like that. So I can't just put a big stall converter in it and have it stall above that speed, because a lot of this, where this car gets driven around, is in town and on 2-lane roads, so 55, 60 miles an hour, decent speed cruising it, and then it goes on the highway some, which isn't a factor because the RPMs are higher, but I don't want to be slipping the converter all the time at 55 miles an hour. So I've ordered a B&M Torque Master converter, and I just got a 1,800 to 2,000 stall, which I don't even know what the factory number is, probably like 12 to 1,400, I guess, with like a 12-inch converter. So I've got that coming with a new front seal, and we're going to dump that in there before we put the engine in, and that way it'll have a little bit above stall so it can deal with having a cam and stuff, but it won't be too loose so it's slipping at, you know, cruising speed and putting heat in the transmission. So long-winded way to tell you, I've got that converter's out because I got a new one coming, but I'll save that. I believe that's a good stock one for putting in one of my other turbo 350s. I think I got one with missing a converter. One thing I want to get your opinion on here just because I hate it, but I want to bias you. Check out this interior. Now, my dad had this interior done in 1995-ish, so 30 years ago. And what was the big deal on street rods back then? Tweed cloth interiors. Now, I don't mind the sculpting and the armrests and all that stuff like that. These are Lincoln Continental, like 86 Lincoln Continental buckets, 6-way power buckets. The controls are down here between them. But, and he had a little bit of leather accenting put on here. It's got a little bit of leather accenting on the door panel. But as you can see, this is a very light blue tweed. And I don't know if you can see, I don't know, maybe down in here, it's faded. It's like a darker blue. And actually you can see what I'm talking about right here. You see this? Filthy. It's filthy. I might have rubbed on that with my coveralls actually. But this, yeah, I did. This interior gets very, very dirty. I just climbed out of here in my coveralls and I bumped the seat and put a bunch of filth on it. I don't know if you can see here, there's wear and dirt on the front of this. The driver's side seat is absolutely horrendous. You might even be able to see it here. Very, very dirty. I sit on a towel to try to protect the bottom of the seat, but unfortunately the back of the seat is now filthy and I've got to shampoo it. The door panel the same way. I'll come around over there and show you. What I'm getting at is the tweed is a durable material, but if it was like dark blue or something like that where it wouldn't show dirt, it'd be one thing, but look at the dirt here where your hand goes to pull there. Right here where you rest your arm. These used to be painted or wood grain maybe originally in the original configuration, but the window trim here, look how filthy and worn this is from having your arm on it all the time. And it's hard to see, but this seat, yeah, it's very dirty here. It's dirty on these raised portions. It's not good. Plus, it's very, very dated, like I said, 30 years old. But interior work is a fortune. I can't afford to have another interior put in this car. It would probably be $10,000 to have a custom interior made. So I'm not going to do that. But I'm looking for ideas and options. I'm leaning towards, this is very durable material that will last forever, and I'm leaning towards, what do? I might try to vinyl dye this like dark blue to match the leather on the seats with like Duplicolor and stuff. They make like the spray-on vinyl dye that's almost like spray paint, but I don't know what that would do. I'm pretty sure I'm going to take these window frames out, peel the tweed off these, sand these all down, smooth up and paint them. I can get school bus yellow in rattle cans actually. Repaint the trim around the windows body color so it'll be metal and paint where your arm goes. That way it won't get all this, even this side's all dirty and worn and stretched. You can see where the material's up and down. But the thing I'm most concerned about is the seats. I would really like to do something with the seats because I've completely trashed that one just like sitting in it. I don't wear like a white tuxedo when I drive this car. I wear not necessarily these clothes, but clothes that aren't going to church clothes. And you know, I want to just drive this thing around, and I can't put a white suit on every time I drive it. And that's what this interior kind of requires. And it's terrible, and I hate it. So that's my unbiased opinion. But I'm thinking about taking these seats out, unbolting them from the power tracks, leaving the power tracks in here. I've got, way back if you went, my C10 videos, I have a set of dark blue vinyl van seats that are buckets that are about the same size and width as these, that are blue vinyl, and they're very, very good shape. They got armrests. They're like button tucked sort of vinyl. No tears, nothing. They're dark blue. They're very, very similar to this color. A little bluer, but very similar. That I'm almost positive I could just bolt onto the tracks right now, take these seats out, and just store them in a good safe space and bolt on those vinyl seats just temporarily so I can drive the car and just not continue to wreck the blue. Or do I go ahead and get like, there's a mouse crap, get seat covers for these, which is, they're 86 Lincoln Continental seats. It's going to be very, very difficult to find seat covers, I'm going to imagine, that just slip over. If I can get like blue seat covers, but that's probably going to be pretty hard. In the back here, this car was originally a business coupe and it didn't have a rear seat, but my dad had a seat made a seat out of plywood. And actually the bottom folds up and you got a little bit of storage under here. And it's just a piece of plywood with some foam on it and then upholstered. And then this is upholstered back here, but obviously it's a very small rear seat. It's not very comfortable, but you can ride in the back of the car now. So obviously if I put the blue vinyl seats in there, the rear seat wouldn't match, but I don't ever ride in the back, and it's very, very rare that anybody rides in the back of the car, and the front seats are what you see. And even over here, you can see this one's faded light blue, that one's faded blue and dirt all through the center of it. I really got to clean that up, but I can't stand the dirt on the Tweed. It's terrible. So I went on YouTube and I've been watching vinyl dye interior videos, and most of them are like freaking 20-year-old kids like beater Mustangs that like rattle can the whole interior, and then it looks like they let rabid dogs loose on the car, and they're like 2 years later like, oh look, it didn't hold up, and there's like all these scratches and weird. I'm like, did you wrestle a lion inside the car? What the hell happened? So I think maybe if I took it easy and sprayed it with like vinyl dye, it might work out. And up here on the top, the headliner and stuff's not an issue. I would probably leave it light blue all the way up from the seat up, and from that line up I would just paint the door, everything from like the windows down blue, dark blue, to match. Like here it's got a blue carpet on top of the blue floor, which is you need because you would absolutely trash that Tweed there. So it's got a floor mat. Then you see I got other floor mats on top of this floor mat because things like this happen, they get ruined anyways. But I would love to have like dark blue tuck and roll on everything, you know, something a little more classic and a little more durable. I mean, this screams 1995, and the rest of the car doesn't really scream 95. Like, yes, it's a street rod, and it was way more monochromatic. My dad shaved a bunch of the chrome, but then he ended up putting the stainless back on the doors and the quarters and the hood and stuff, which is nice. It does have shaved door handles, which is kind of slick, but the stock door handles go here are very big and bulky and stick way out, so it looks better without the door handles on it. I kind of wish it had the hood ornament and the stainless down. The hood was still stainless. I kind of wish it had all this trim on it here because it just kind of dresses it up a little bit. So anyways, and I want to do something about these goofy street rod headlights he put in here. They're like a small size, which I don't even know where you get these, but they're a small size and they got this goofy ring. I would like to have full-size headlights with a chrome bezel back on the headlight buckets. He did that because originally these had bug eye headlights without, you know, modern style sealed beams. They're old lamp filament lights, and they bug eyed way out, and there wasn't a good way to put a sealed beam into them. So he had adapted them, and then he later on put these on here, which I don't like how fat and yellow around the lights they are, but we'll cross that bridge later. But the interior really bugs me. I would rather run a car with no interior and seats that were durable than a car with an interior that the second you touch it, it gets ruined. This doesn't look good. And while we're talking about things, I'm in the back here. Obviously, you see there's no rear bumper on this car. And originally, when my dad built it, he made these Nerf bars, which I still have, out of like, I don't know, 3/8 plate steel. They bolt onto the side of the frame here, and they come out here. And, you know, Nerf bars are kind of street roddy from back in the day. But I'm really nervous about this car getting rear-ended. I have a whole front clip for it in stock, extra parts and stuff. But if this car ever got hit in the back, even at a low-speed collision, it's going to completely ruin the quarter panels, the deck lid. I have fenders, but it's going to completely destroy the back of the car, which is going to be very, very, very difficult to fix. And these cars are pretty much non-existent, finding ones that aren't completely junk. You're not just going to go out and find a 37 and 8 Buick, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, and some Cadillacs share the same big coupe body. The fenders and stuff are a little bit deep, but the quarter panels, the deck lids, and, you know, the roof line are all the same, all three of the BOP cars. So you have a little more options, but finding parts of these cars is very, very difficult now. And if this ever got rear-ended by somebody, it would be very difficult to replace. I need to work on fixing this deck lid too. But I want to put a rear bumper of some sort on the back of the car to protect it from a rear end collision. So I just happen to have a factory bumper, not off this car. I think my dad sold the original bumpers for this car, but I found this one probably at Hershey or somewhere. It's a 3738 bumper. I paid 25 bucks for it. But it's straight, the chrome is shot, but it wouldn't be a lot of money to get it re-chromed, probably like 300 or 400 bucks. But the stock bumpers are kind of goofy. They're big and wide, and they stuck way back out here. These are luxury cars back in the day, and so they had a lot of chrome, a lot of trim. You know, the bumpers are big for keeping the car protected. So with stock bumper irons, it would be way out here. So I'd want to suck it back in closer to the back of the car, but I would have to pay to get it re-chromed for one thing, and it is just kind of heavy-duty sheet metal. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to incorporate these guys regardless because they come out under the body. I don't have to cut holes back in the body. Originally there would have been like a slot cut here in the in the tail pan for the bumper irons to come through, but I don't want to cut that. And I also have the license plate hole has been Frenched in here, so if I put the stock bumper over the back of it, it's going to cover up the license plate. So I'm leaning towards making some kind of pipe bumper, not a real thick and not a real big diameter pipe, but maybe like 2-inch or 2 1/4 inch pipe, but heavy wall, and tying it into those Nerf bars and having it stop here near the fender somehow, come across. I can put a bow to it with my tubing bender so it matches the curve of the back of the car. And I might even cut in a relief for the license plate around, you know, make something that's structural that can tie into these, but will protect the back of the car. I'm talking like if you're in traffic and somebody in a modern car obviously is, you know, texting or whatever, and they hit the back of the car like at a stoplight or in traffic like at 10 or 20 miles an hour, which 20 is pretty fast, but like say 5 or 10 miles an hour, they don't just wad into the whole back of the car and fold it all up. They would hit a heavy wall piece of 2-inch pipe made into a bumper, hooked into those bumper irons, and at least use the frame of the car to help take a lot of the damage out of it. So I think I'm going to end up doing that later on here, but I'm rambling. The interior's got me spiraling. I've got a mission creep here with the interior, and I don't know what to do about it, but I know that I can't stand it, and I really want to do something. So should I put the dark blue vinyl buckets in it? They will fit side to side wise. They are very comfortable. I sat in them in the junkyard and I've sat in them here at the house. They're going to be as comfortable as these seats, and they're going to be blue vinyl, so they will not get dirty. I can clean them up very easily. They'll go with the blue of the accent of the interior. You know, they're very close to this blue. This is kind of more grayish blue, but they're a darker blue. Blue will go with blue, so it would make sense. I think dark blue seats, and they got armrests on them, which is really nice. This car doesn't have armrests, so you're always like leaning over when you're driving it. It would be nice to have armrests. So I don't know. I'm really thinking in the middle of this I might pull those seats out of there and try to put those buckets in there just temporarily ish, and probably eventually someday get the Lincoln seats recovered in like a blue velour, or not a velour, but like some kind of dark blue cloth, something dark that's not going to show dirt, because this light blue tweed is nonsense. And if I could go back in time, I'd be like, Dad, don't waste your money on light blue tweed. How about we do something more classic that's going to be around and not go out of style? Because it's definitely out of style. I spiraled pretty good there on all that talking, but the interior's been driving me nuts. I've been thinking about it all day today. What to do. So we're going to stop thinking about that, and we're going to take this flex plate off this 400. And if you're not really familiar with the 400 small block, they are externally balanced, meaning there's a weight welded onto the crank, and the damper is different in the front. And there's no Loctite or nothing on these. So instead of being in neutral balanced or internally balanced, like 350s on down to 283s are. The 400 was externally balanced, and other engines do that too. It's not just this, not just randomly on this engine. Oops. But on the Chevy small block, still the only one that needed a special balance was the 400, and I'll show you the weights in a second here. Right there, that big chunk of weight welded to it makes it a 400 flywheel. And I don't know if the crank, see the crank, see that crank is completely round on the back of this one, and see this one here, I'll bring you over in a second here. And a way to tell is on the back of the Blueprint 350, you see the crank is completely round. Well, over here, this crank has got a counterweight cast or forged right into it right there, so you can tell that's a 400 crank just by looking at the back of it. It's weighted versus a stock style crank, which is completely round in a small block Chevy. And you'll notice since this is a brand new, this is a Blueprint Engines makes their own engine blocks. This is a brand new cast block. They put this modern style one-piece rear main seal in it, which is nice, and they use a nice Fel-Propane gaskets versus this guy who has a two-piece rear main seal, which is leaking. If you can see, the back of the oil pan is all grungy. So I'm going to try to fix that up. This engine was rebuilt at a machine shop back in the 80s, in probably 80, I don't know, 6 or 7, 85, 6 or 7. And it's 30 over, it's like flat top piston, so it's like 10 to 1. We're going to pull the intake off. I'm pretty sure my dad put a roller cam in it later on. I don't think it's got roller rockers. I think it's standard rockers, but we're going to change the valve covers or clean it up. This is a Edelbrock EPS Performer intake, which I don't even know if they make them anymore, but for some reason that got put on, so we're going to pop that off, take a look at it, clean it up. Going to repaint the whole engine Chevy orange, and I have a 400 specific flywheel for this to put the 4-speed behind it. I've got a what do you call it, not a throw-out bearing, a pilot bushing or a roller pirate bushing coming for this to put in the crank so we can run the standard transmission. And right here is the date C, which must be March 6, 1973, and there's the casting number, which I forget what it says, but it is what it is, versus this brand new block from Blueprint, which doesn't have a casting number on that side. It's got their own BP number cast into it on this side, but in General Motors the number would have been on that side originally, and they got their own cylinder heads and stuff, so all aftermarket parts here versus all stock GM parts over here. This was in a 73 Chevy Caprice estate wagon with a turbo 400 back in the day. I've piqued my curiosity here. I told you that this thing didn't have roller rockers, and I don't think it does, but I'm going to go ahead and pull a valve cover off just so I can see for myself, because I don't know. And it would be nice to actually, can I look in the oil hole? That'd be easier than pulling the valve cover off. Oh, nope, I can't, because there's a baffle, and I just pulled the rubber grommet right out of the valve cover. Perfect. How did that happen? No, it goes right back in. So let's pull these off. I had these two top bolts out earlier because they had the wiring harness on them, but we can take a look. Just want to see what we're working on here, dog. Oh, there we go. Just had to give her a little pop. Aha! Ooh, roller rockers. It does have roller rockers. Son of a bee sting. How about that? They are... Is that Crane? No, they're Comp Cams. Comp Cams roller rockers. Look at that. That's neat. That's pretty neat. So we got roller rockers, and I think he put a roller cam in it too, but we're not going to find out right this second until we get an engine stand to put this thing on, because I need it to pick the thing up with it, but that's pretty cool. I didn't expect to see that. That engine also over there, the Blueprint, that is definitely a roller cam, and it has roller rockers. I looked in the oil fill hole. It definitely has roller rockers. But this engine's super clean on the inside. It's had Mobil 1 oil in it for a long time, which I don't run in it anymore. I run conventional oil in it now, but it's always been taken care of. The only thing it would have had is moisture in the oil from sitting for years without getting driven. The last couple of years my dad was alive, he didn't drive the car hardly at all. And then for me, it's been sitting around for, I drive it, I don't know, a few hundred miles a year right now, or I had been. So it didn't get a lot of usage. I think the last time I changed oil was 5 years ago, but it's only gone like less than 1,000 miles in 5 years. So it's definitely due for an oil change just to get the old oil out of it. But the oil is clean. It's not dirty. It's just there's going to be contaminants and moisture in it now. But it is neat to see that it's got roller rockers. It does rev pretty good. So they all look good. All the valve springs look good. There's absolutely zero sludge or grunge in the head, top of the head anyway, so the oil is definitely draining back into the engine like it should be. So that's nice to see. We can probably pull the carburetor off right now. This is a 670 Holley Brawler, and this is what they broke the engine in with. I'm putting a 650 Edelbrock AVS2 on here just because this engine had an Edelbrock 600 on it, and the fuel line right here is already made up with AN fittings to go down to the fuel pump. So I'm going to reuse the fuel pump on this engine. I'm going to reuse the AN line, all the front dress and stuff. I'm going to put all that on the new engine, motor mounts obviously, and but just save the long block here, then put some new parts on this. I have a new high flow water pump coming for this. I bought a high flow water pump for that. So I'll take the stock water pump off the front of this and put a high flow on it. I'm going to put a 160 thermostat in this engine just because it's 400 and they run warm. This one gets a 180 high flow. It's going to get the high flow water pump. It's already got the ignition and everything else set in it from blueprint from the factory. So essentially I'm putting the same-ish CFM. This is a Brawler, and it's the, what's the part number? It's 56 something. I ran the numbers at Summit Racing. It's definitely a 670 CFM. It's a BR67256. So it's a 670 CFM. It's got 70 jets, and it uses Holley jets. It's got 70 jets in the primary, I think 74s in the secondary. It has a secondary metering plate. It has the floats with the glass sights in them, so you can see, make sure the fuel level is correct. It's got the adjustable vacuum port for when the secondaries come in. It's a vacuum secondary carburetor. It's electric choke. It's got all the bells and whistles nonsense that would make it work here. So it's definitely going to be cool. And I'm going to take this carburetor and put it on this engine just because, like I said, I have a brand new 650 AVS2 Edelbrock that's going on here because of the fuel line and stuff, and I've had good luck with the other AVS I bought for my Dodge truck. It just works out good. This is a $530 carburetor, so I'm going to take this carburetor and actually put it on the 400, which it will work well on. These are very similar spec and horsepower engines. This is a little bit less compression. This is higher compression. This is like 10-to-1, but this is very tunable. I have a Holley jet kit for it, I have a Holley jet kit. You can change the air bleeds. You can change a lot of things. Actually, David Freiberger on his channel has one of these on his red Dart, and he did a whole really in-depth series of carburetor tuning on this carburetor on his channel. So you can take the whole thing apart and change a million things on it. So that's why I want to have the tunability of that to dial this engine in good, to make this engine run good in the truck. And it's a brand new $500 carburetor. There's absolutely no reason not to use it. So this guy will be going onto this engine, and it'll be more in an old school look. When my dad had built his original truck, which I'm cloning, he had a 350 with a Holley on it. So it'll be more in an old school look with this engine. But this guy is going to keep, I'm probably just going to run these blueprint valve covers because they're chrome and they're on here, and they look like they got a thick flange on the bottom of them, and they're already on the heads. I was going to transfer these Chevy valve covers over, but which I still might do. I'm not sure, but this has got a nice style thread and oil filler cap, and it's got a breather, and they're chrome. I don't know. I'll probably, just for gasket's sake, I'll probably leave these on here for now, under there. And I've got some blue plug wires to go on the engine to match the blue in the blueprint valve covers. So this engine had bright yellow spark plugs which clashed with the school bus yellow of the car. So these blue won't clash. We're getting headers for this, which will be here tomorrow. So there's a lot going on here to make it go. But this guy is going to be all set over here. and all this stuff. Like I said, the pulleys, the alternator, which is brand new, all the belts, the power steering pulley and all that will all transfer over to the front of this engine. And I've got a new water neck coming because the original water neck, which has the fan switch in it, is completely rotted away and deteriorated just from galvanic or dissimilar metal corrosion, galvanic action, whatever you want to call it. And actually inside there, it's got a pinhole through to right here, and it was starting to leak on the top of this engine, and I didn't know where it was coming from. Well, it's coming from there. It ate the whole inside of that right out. So I ordered a new one of those with it, and we're gonna go carry on from there. One thing I did notice, this engine has the dipstick on the passenger side, while the old school small block has it on the driver's side, which doesn't really mean anything. It just, the oil pans and stuff are different. So you need to, if you're gonna buy one of these engines, you need to know that that is that side style dipstick. I feel like I did a lot of rambling with the interior crash out and wasted a bunch of time in this video, so I'm gonna stick it on time lapse. I'm gonna blow a bunch of stuff off the front of, take the stuff off the front of this engine. We're going to take the carburetor off, put the carb plate on there, and get this guy ready to, set it out of the way. Or, well, we're going to have to pick this guy up and get him out of the crate here soon. Alright, I got my new parts out for the engine just to look at them here. I gave you some wrong information earlier when I said the back of this engine was neutral balance. It's not. The Blueprint engines are externally balanced and require an externally balanced flywheel, and they give you the part number. The Blueprint engines BPP871006, and you can see it's got a weight on it here. So this is the engine side. So this is a weighted flywheel or flex plate for this specific engine, and actually all their small blocks, I think up to like the 427, it's in the instructions, but a lot of the small blocks use this externally balanced flywheel, which is SFI rated manufacturer safety code, which is safety manufacturer for flywheels, so or flex plates, so it shouldn't come apart on you. So I have the correct flex plate with the correct weight on it for the Blueprint 350. The damper is internally balanced or neutral balanced, so they give you a couple of options. I went with a SCAT small block Chevy damper here just because it's a nice one and it's got all the timing marks on it, real nice on top there. SCAT performance, like SCAT crankshaft. So I bought a SCAT balancer, and then I bought a high flow Summit brand water pump. Just cast iron, but it's a high volume water pump, and it's got all the factory spots to bolt on there. So I'll paint this. I'm probably gonna just run the engine in black, so I'll have to paint that before we install it. And the Summit number is Summit SUM 312449-1 for the water pump. So that's a high flow water pump. So that's pretty much all the parts I need to put this together. I ordered the wrong spark plugs for it. I looked at, I wanted AC Delco plugs for the smaller version of this engine, and For this engine, they want NKG plugs, which I'm not a fan of NKGs. I've only had spark plugs go bad once on me, and it was NKG plugs, but it shows NKG plugs or it shows an Excel short plug, probably for headers. So there's different part numbers there. You saw me in a time lapse. I took the pulleys off here. I didn't realize that the crank bolt held the damper pulley on, so I was tapping out my mallet pretty good, and then realized I had to take the crank bolt out. Whoops, my bad. But this 400's got an aftermarket damper on it too, or a brand new damper. Right now I'm just going to leave the water pump on it. This is a AC Delco or General Motors, probably AC Delco, but it's got General Motors cast in it. So a factory style water pump. I am going to put one of those Summit high flow or high volume pumps or whatever, high distribution pumps on this guy as well. I need to change some of the fittings. My dad had just run, I think 5/8 or 3/8 heater hose, whatever size this heater hose is, and it's a small fitting, so I got to take these two fittings out of this engine and dump them in there, and I'll be running bigger fittings on this when I hook it up to the C10. Like I said, I'm going to reuse the fuel pump, which I hope it's not leaking. I think it's just got oil on it, but that's like a bolt together Edelbrock or chrome or something fuel pump, so I'm going to reuse that fuel pump on the new engine with this braided line because it threads in, and the fuel line pump works good. So I'll use the stainless steel bolts. I just put them back in here so I don't lose track of them for swapping things over. These rubber hoses, if you didn't see the engine pull video, this thing has had an oil cooler on it, which bolts on where the oil filter goes. I'm not going to run the oil cooler on this engine or this engine because I'm worried about if you ever rupture one of these rubber fuel hoses, you're going to immediately pump all the oil out of the engine, and it's going to be a very bad day. And my dad added these a long time ago. The date on the hoses is 3/11/04, so they're 21 years old, and they're a pressure rated hose, obviously for for oil pressure, but you know they are older hoses, and the chance of them rupturing, if I put the oil cooler on, I would definitely put new hoses on it. But I'm really cautious about having oil escape the engine. Like I run electric oil pressure gauge. I don't like having external things where you can just suddenly puke all your engine oil out like that and not notice it and then have a problem. Oh, I got more parts in here. What are these? Summit. Oh, I got blue wires from Summit. Here we go. Blue HEI wires to go with the blue go with a blueprint on the engine. I just got them because they're blue. I think they are 8mm. They're Summit brand new wires, so we'll have those to put on. And I think I have yes I do, I've got a Tough Stuff high flow thermostat, 180 degrees. They suggest 180 degrees. And I also have a brand new crank bolt for this. I believe that's what this is. It's got to be, yeah, harmonic balancer crank bolt. I got a brand new grade 8 crank bolt for that. Also bought from Summit Racing. So I've got my Summit parts ready to go on my blueprint engine from Summit Racing. This pre-luber is just an old distributor with a gear ground off, and you put a socket on the top of it. It's an old distributor body. So this goes down and engages the oil, the oil pump drive, and you spin it, and it spins up oil pressure. So we got that there. The only way to tell oil pressure is get a mechanical gauge and thread into the back of the block here. It's 1/8 inch NPT. I'll be transferring over the oil pressure sending unit for the car into that port, but I'll have to come up with some kind of gauge or some way to see that it has oil pressure. Or you could pull the valve covers off and oil it to the top of the valve covers, but then I don't really want to pull the valve covers off and hurt the gasket, so we'll probably have to thread some kind of mechanical gauge into it to make sure that it is indeed pumping oil pressure. So now I guess I just got to wait till my parts come in tomorrow. This is marked number 1, I believe, over here on the distributor, which is pointing not at number 1, it's pointing at like number 3. So we might spin this thing over, put it on top dead center, and I might play around with the distributor orientation. This one is number 1 on the 400, pointing at number 1, but I don't know why they did it. Maybe because of the boost, the vacuum canister, they want it cranked over this way more. Like this one is cranked looking at the breather hole here, and this one's more looking at the front. So it's just the orientation, you know, being one tooth off with it, but we'll have to definitely pull the distributor out and lube it for oil pressure so I can set the timing where I want to set the timing. And that's why I got that nice damper with the graduations on it. It's going to be very clear and easy to see with a timing light. And actually, I would like to get a dial back timing light because I don't have one of those currently. And I probably should buy one of those. That'd be helpful to have all-in timing on this engine. They want 34 degrees at 4,000 RPM. So I can set it, if I have one of those dial back timing lights, I can set that timing, make sure it's good. I think initial timing is 13 to 14 degrees initial timing, and then 34 degrees all in with the with this engine with the HEI distributor. So that'll be good. And it says, because of the probably the oil pump and the roller drivetrain, it says use a steel or cast iron gear on the distributor. Don't use a bronze gear because it will wear the gear out. So hopefully we'll pull that out and see the correct gear on it. I got to imagine that they would sell it with the correct gear. That would be good to know. But we will cross that bridge when we come to it. I guess that's all I can do in this video right now for you guys is what I've just done. I know I did a whole lot of talking, not a lot of action, but when you're waiting for parts, you got to wait for parts. So I'm just going to go ahead and like pull the motor mounts off this thing, take a couple other doodads off this thing that I don't need on here, and get it all prepped and ready to go. I'll probably leave the fuel pump on until I get ready to actually put it on the engine, but we'll get it ready for action. And I'm going to pick up some black engine paint. I'll probably reshoot the block on this black. It's got some bare cast iron showing on the top of the deck surface and stuff, and the bare cast iron water pump. I'm going to want to get paint on those, probably paint the inside of the back of the block here, and go from there. But tomorrow, like I said, I got 2 big orders from Summit showing up. I'll be having the torque converter show up, and I'll have the engine stand or engine cradle thingamajig. All my gaskets, my other things I've ordered, water neck and stuff. So we should be able to outfit this engine completely with, and actually I have to have a set of headers showing up for it as well. So we should be able to put all the accessories and stuff, switch them over to this engine, get it all bolted up, ready to go back in the car. I'll have the torque converter. I'll get some transmission fluid. We can fill that up, plug that back in, change the input shaft seal in the transmission, put the torque converter in, and then land this guy right back in the car and start hooking it back up. And then I can store this guy and work on this off on the side, get it ready to accept going into the C10. And after we get this car done, I have to bring up the Black 40 Mercury with the flames on it, because we're taking the Super T10 transmission out of the Black 40 Mercury and hooking it to the 400 with either a Lakewood bell housing that I have in the Mercury, or I have a stock 11-inch clutch aluminum Chevrolet bell housing to go on the back of this. I have a 400 specific flywheel to go on this. I've got the crank pilot bushing coming. So I'll be able to convert this guy over to standard transmission setup, get it all painted up. Got to dump a Power Glide transmission in the 40 Mercury, get that running and driving again. And then once this Buick and the Mercury are functional and back out of here, we'll be able to bring the C10 truck back in here, land the painted up 400 with the Super T10, land those in the truck, and then it's game on. Suspension lowering, like hooking all the fluids up, getting it running, brakes, wheels, tires, assembling the front clip, and then by that time it'll be springtime. We can do the paint and body work on the rest of the sheet metal, put the seat in it, put the front clip together, put the get the box going, get that together, and by summertime, this truck, the C10 truck, will be completely done and on the road, and we'll be on to the next full build, which will be probably the 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona project. We'll be starting that along with a bunch of other stuff. We'll be throwing the rear end in this car because I'm sure that's going to be a springtime job when I can actually drive it and see the differences. We'll do a comparison video. But for now, I'm doing all I can do. I got a lot of parts and pieces and money sitting out here, and I got more money coming on the way. So no Christmas gifts this year, I guess. I spent all my money on shiny trinkets like this. But that's what happens when you're trying to keep YouTube fed and you guys happy here and making street rods great again. Tell me what you think about that blue interior. What should I do with it? Spray bomb it, rip it out, leave it as it is, change the seats, don't change the seats, send it out for a complete $30,000 leather interior. I don't know. I don't have any money. I'm broke. So we're going to have to stick to the rattle can plan or beach towels, something. junkyard seats. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hopefully dumping this Blueprint 350 in that 37 Buick.